What's up, world? My name is Josh Moxey, and this is the 5th episode of Reflections. So, let's get right into it. It's 11:11 p.m. right now, and it's December 10th, 2017. So, I'm gonna do this fast because I want to go to bed soon. And yeah, it's good because I'm in a good mood now, or a much better mood than when I was. I was feeling really shitty around like 8 p.m., 7 p.m. ish. And yeah, so I'm glad to report that I'm feeling a lot better right now, which is fucking awesome because that is the point of life, to feel good. That's what it's all about. So yeah, fucking real deep, real fast. So I'm not gonna be doing this in a very like categorized fashion, other than the three, like the wins, the what would make this week better, and the lessons, because I did this very random this time. So let me just go through this, I guess. React is working, yay! So I got React working with CSS modules. That was a like big hold up for me in terms of migrating my projects. I'm still migrating because it's complicated the way it's set up, but I got that working in CSS modules with Webpack, and I'm pumped about that. I spent a decent amount of time this week working on design stuff. Most notably, for example, with the content right now, I've been working on an intro and templates, intro, outro, the templates that are being used for the audio versions, where I have like only audio, because that's gonna happen sometimes, and no video. So I created those, and those came out fucking beautifully. Or specifically the one that I chose. I made 3, and I picked the third, and it's fucking beautiful. And yeah, the intro is a lot of fun. I think I talked about this last week because it's been like a 2-week project or whatever. But the intro is like this cool little intro that I'm going to be putting between like a clip and then the rest of the video. Obviously, that's what the fucking intro is. But anyways, I like create all the visuals, the transitions, the effects. As per usual, everything's custom made. Like, that's just how I roll. So it came out really fucking beautiful. And it's just funny because I'm like using like my own pictures I created around the house and stuff like that. It's literally just me and my iPhone. Like, meaning I set up the iPhone with like a tripod, and yeah, it's cool though. I like the way it came out. I also love the song I used, because I used a new song, and this song is fucking a gem. And by the time this airs, this is probably the intro that's been used for like everything. So, and also like I have updated the audio to match the new, and I'm also created the outros, and the outro is now like way more pretty than it was before in the video fashion. And then it's also going to be like, the intros and outros are basically going to be fucking sick, and the templates involved. That's what I've been working on. I'm excited about it, and yeah, I'm excited for content. Now I just have to actually push it out. My God, taking my sweet ass time with that. It's not acceptable. What else is awesome? I love dubstep during my workouts this week. Like, pretty much every single workout included some form of either Never Say Die Volume 5, the mix, or Excision's 2017 Lost Lands mix. It's just phenomenal. It gives me such an extra energy. It's like caffeine and dubstep are like the ultimate two, and obviously water and some other stuff, but those two, I guess 3, because water is so fucking important, but those 3 are just like fucking crucial for me to actually hit a good workout. If it's a very hard workout, I think that's incredibly important. What else can I say? I've been moving a lot of my files to the cloud right now. I'm actually a little bit hesitant to say that because but then again, I have everything set up very securely. So, but I'm very pumped to be moving everything to the cloud right now because I'm praying it's going to speed up everything. I hope it does because my laptop's getting a little bit slow right now. Infinity. All right, let's actually go lists real quick. I basically did nothing with lists because I was spending all the time learning about things regarding the lists area. So like a lot of that time I spent on CSS modules, configuring that, making sure that worked. Oops, I just hit that mic. Spending time on, now recently I'm learning how to integrate things like React Router and how to set that up with Passport and all that jazz, like figuring out how the fuck that's supposed to work. And so yeah, I haven't been working much on lists, but with Infinity, I've now taken the time to like clearly define what the specific features I want to happen are, and now working on like there's been a shit ton of time just like really fleshing out the entire idea and listing all my thoughts around it. And I probably have 50 plus pages in Google Docs just like typing about like and solving challenges and clearing it all out and really fleshing out the idea. So it's gotten pretty solid now, and I'm not 100% confident in it. I still have more stuff to do with it, and I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know it's gonna be a win because it's not up for me to decide. Like in a perfect world, yes, it is a win because I'm reverse engineering value here, but it's not up for me to decide. It's up for the market to decide. So I've got to be cautious with that. And yeah, so Infinity's going well. I spent some time defining the user types, what they're going to be wanting, reverse engineering that, listing all my thoughts around it. What else can I say? Defining the schemas. I've been progressing on that, as you've heard in weeks past. And yeah, I think that's enough for awesome. It was a pretty good week. I wish there was more time because I spent a decent amount of extra time on preparing food and such. But other than that, I enjoyed this week. It was a good week. What could have made this week better or things to do next week? Relaxing my jaw. I've gotten a little bit of a bad habit right now of like clenching my jaw. I basically got rid of it, but it's come back a little bit, so I've got to be cautious of that. Faster with food. I'm pretty fucking slow when I make food. I'd like to get better at that. I did like green drink. I bashed my green drink. I think I made like 52 or whatever. 52 green drinks, so I won't have to make any until February, which is awesome. And like muffins and tuna, and I think that's all. But when I make them, I'm not the fastest, so I've got to really work on getting faster with that. I think systems is the answer. Usually is the answer. And yeah, time will tell though. I'm gonna test out different things and see what the fuck works. Being less judgmental, self-judgmental, and judgmental of others as well. I thought I got to a pretty good spot with this, but I don't know. It's probably always going to be there because I just have better standards than people. Period. So and also like right after that is more self-compassionate, and I also think that's true for others as well. I like overall at a grand scheme, I'm pretty good with this, but there's times where I just like start to project my standards on other people, and even my standards are not always necessarily good for me. So definitely not good for other people if they're sometimes not good for me. In terms of people are supposed to set their standards, it's not for me to decide what the fuck they should have as their standards. And it's just a reminder of that happening, right? Sometimes. So, and that is currently what's going on right now. And I threw myself out of whack earlier today by being overly judgmental of myself and a little bit of others, but mostly myself. And I think that's true. If you're ever like judging others, it's like, for me at least, what I found is, I think this is generally true as like as a universal truth, whether you accept it or not, that's okay. But whenever you're looking outside, you're really looking within. Everything is like a mirror, basically, in that when you're like judging something in someone else, maybe take a step back and be like, how do I, or ask maybe something along the lines of like, am I judging this within myself? Am I, like, I find many times when I start to judge things within other people, I'm like, okay, but like, how do I line up with that in myself? Am I seeing something in that person that is triggering me within myself? And yeah, I just find like that's a very universal truth thing from my experience. And I encourage you to try that and like just look and see if that is true for anything with you. The odds are, if you are aware enough about and not like attached to what you're actually, the outcome of this exercise, you will probably find some cases where you're like, oh, I'm judging this person because he or she had, it all just comes back to you. I could give some examples, but I'm feeling a little bit lazy right now, so I'm not going to. I hope you try that out though. It's very important. Okay. Looking into I want to look into improving my pull-up and chin-up form. It's not I mean, it's not the greatest. I want it to get better. I don't know what good form is. That's the unfortunate part. So like, yeah, I've got to get better at that for sure. Thinking about long-term goals and dreams while I'm working. Sometimes I can get caught up in like thinking about random shit, especially while designing. It's pretty hard to do when I'm coding because you have to be pretty, goddamn, you have to be pretty focused on what you're doing with the code and creating, and you're very wrapped up in your challenge and your solution and getting from A to B. But with design, there's a little bit more like room in the mental capacity to think about things. For example, it's hard to listen to interviews while I code unless I'm doing like very basic coding. But if I am creating like a design or whatever, there's not as much mental energy there unless you're literally solving a challenge. That's the point. If you're like just moving pixels around, it's not that hard for the mental energy wise. So it can lead to this place where I start focusing on dumb shit sometimes, and that's just so pointless. It's time wasted that I could be spending on learning, on thinking about my goals, on visualizing my future, on whatever, productive things that are going to be raising my energy levels up, things that are overall just better for me. So posting on podcasts and posting on socials. I haven't posted in like 3 weeks. And actually no, it's probably over three at this point, maybe 3.5. And it's unfortunate. At least I will give myself the benefit of saying that I am creating while I am in this hiatus. It's more like literally just it's not even more like, it is just procrastination and me not taking it seriously enough. And yeah, so I've got to fix that. I am not impressed. I think that was one of the reasons I was also pissed off today, because I was just like, holy fuck, like I haven't posted yet, and it's just taking a lifetime. So, oh, I forgot to say something that was awesome. I finally got to bed earlier. I'm on a new schedule now, and it's like waking up anywhere from like 8 to 9 and going to bed at anywhere from like 12 to 1. That type of general range. So much better. Though, there's like this, it's like a strange, like weird feeling I'm having in the mornings, where it's like nice to be up at like normal times, but there's just a weird feeling associated with it that I have to be cautious of. And I also might, and to put even in this better column, things to do, I I'm going to consider, I'm gonna write this in, working out earlier, because I don't, and yeah, so working out earlier. And let me lead this into lessons, because this has something to do with one of them. Yeah, I don't require, according to Greg Gallagher, who I don't know much of, but I think from what I've seen, he's a worthwhile resource. But I don't know 100% because I haven't dug in fully. Basically at all, actually. But he said, I don't require a protein shake right after my workout because I'm intermittent fasting. So there's some sort of like thing that goes on that makes it apparently okay, which makes you feel good about it. But yeah, so let me just go through the lessons now. There's a lot lower, like more mellow energy right now. It's kind of nice. 'Cause I'm usually all amped. Like last week I was fucking amped on caffeine. That was crazy. Following systems. So I just learned this week that following systems are basically simple as fuck. And it's literally, you grab the user, you have a table, or sorry, how does this go? I work in MongoDB, not SQL databases. But so let's just do this. Mongo. You've got your database, or what's it called? It's called a collection. And you've got your so you've basically got just like I'm just gonna put this in pseudo terms. You've got a bucket, and each item in a bucket has two things. It literally just has the user ID of the person and the user ID of the person that, okay, I'm explaining this horribly. Bucket. There is a card in the bucket. The card says, this user is following that user. And it's referencing their actual ID, not their username. That's literally how, like, apparently Twitter, Instagram, all of it's made up. It's very simple, my God. So that was super interesting to learn. It's very cool to watch, like, as I learn more about, like, database. I fucking love databases. It's so interesting to me. But it's in the architecture and all that jazz, and how simple it is. That's what I was going into. Is like, the more I learn about these little things, it's just like, if I can wrap my head around it fully, it's really not that complex. And it's cool to think about how, like, these crazy fucking things are just built on such simple architecture. Granted, this is not at scale, because it gets like way more complicated when you're scaling up and stuff like that. And I still have no idea what the fuck that actually means, because it just does not resonate whatsoever. But it's just cool to think about, like, how simple it actually is, these structures. So it's paramount that I review the basics of programming, even the simplest of things. So yeah, this basically means that I was reviewing JavaScript this week, and I was going like a low level, the fundamentals. And it was cool because every so often it's just like, I think it's incredible to go back, because if you want to be a master, you've got to be a master of the basics. So, and like I was saying, I think last week, you can only build as high up as your foundation is deep, which means you have to get a strong fucking core, because if you get high enough and there's a crack in the foundation, the whole fucking tower could knock over. Okay? So it's important that, and this has happened to me, because I learned programming so I could build internalize. I didn't learn programming just because. The goal was to create what I created with internalize, and that meant I was learning things on the fly and not properly doing the way most should. I was gonna say should have. That's not the correct word to use there, because that's just not really how I learned. But I learned it in a way where I was like learning shit on the fly, so there was cracks in the foundation, which eventually just caught up to me. But now I'm going back and like really making sure I have the fucking basics. And to be able to take such a simple concept, like strings in JavaScript, and realized the other day, I'm like, holy fuck, this guy just said a string is also technically an object based on the way JavaScript is set up because it has properties and methods attached to it. I thought that's very interesting and such a little twist on a concept I already understood. But I was like, holy fuck, that changes the way I look at strings forever. That sounds super nerdy, but whatever. Certain songs looping in my head can actually steal positivity. I think that's fascinating. That was happening today. I had like this, it's actually still kind of there, but it's replaced with a few other different songs. Like as I'm talking, there's like a few different songs looping in my head. And yeah, if this song has a negative association, it's actually going to like steal my positivity because it's got like some negative energy almost attached to it or whatever, a negative association. So every time I'm listening to it, there's like a subconscious reaction in my body, in my mood, in whatever, and I can feel it. It's like it lowers things, which is very, very interesting for something so simple. An inhale through the nose and an exhale through the mouth, like, and repeating that is incredibly powerful for a quick almost like zen out type of thing. Like if I'm feeling overstressed, like even before this, I wasn't overstressed, I wasn't even stressed really, I was kind of just like trying to ground myself. Doing that for, I think I did 5, it just really it really helps you peace out, if you will. Just really chill, and it's highly underrated. It's something so simple. You don't even have to stop what you're doing. You just have to breathe, relax, and do longer breaths ideally, because I found that the longer the breath, the more relaxed it makes me. So consider doing that. It's super effective and super short, which is ideal in my opinion for things like that. In order to move effective and fast, use pseudocode on everything I'm building. A feature, a UI, etc. It's incredibly important to lay out everything in steps. So yeah, what I was referring to here is last night, my laptop was like glitching the fuck out. And I was like, fuck it, I guess I'll just enter Google Docs and do what I usually do, is a lot of time is spent in Google Docs trying to like flesh out and change, not even change, but just like take a challenge, plug it out on paper, so get it in front of my eyes, and then list out potential solutions and try to just wrap my head around it more. Works fucking magic, to be honest. It's just crazy. So, but with that though, I was like, okay, why don't I try doing pseudocode, because I haven't done much pseudocode recently, and I like stepped out exactly what I wanted to happen in a function and how I wanted a UI to look and how I wanted the actual CSS to potentially be like. And I did that for like 4 different things, and it was just like, holy fuck, why don't I do this more often? I wasn't coding, but I was making everything so much easier for my future self when I go in and actually implement that code, because I was making sure, because what coding is basically at its core is like giving the computer a set of instructions to execute on, to do, to run, all the same thing. So with that though, if you can do it in English to yourself, then you can fully understand what the fuck you're actually going to be doing. And if you can do that, then it's so much easier to code. And maybe that's why I can sometimes get slow, is because like I don't fully know exactly what I'm doing. And I mean like maybe I'm at like a 95%, but that 5% kind of slows me down. So I think it's very paramount to follow that. Tree size, incredible tool for basically taking your laptop and like figuring out, for me, I'm using it for the 80-20 analysis, in that I'm trying to figure out what 20% is taking up 80% of my space on my laptop so I can delete it, because I'm looking for space right now. And I think this tool is absolutely amazing. I just found it today. At times, caring too much about what little things like how I appear, what I'm doing in this moment, how productive am I, etc. If I over care about that, it's actually detrimental. Like earlier today, I think also one of the things that I was fucking up on was I was over caring about like little stupid little shit, and it ended up causing me to not feel good. And then when I don't feel good, it's harder to get shit done, and it's harder to produce good work, good results. So I think it's just important to monitor that and stop caring so much about the little things. And it's easier said than done, of course, but I think it's very, very important. This seems to be a default for me right now, saying very, very important or something of the matter. I like this. It's the times when I feel like hiding that I should go and own it in the light. Or what did I say? And it's the times I feel, let me repeat that. It's the times when I feel like I want to hide that I should own it and go in the light. That is exactly what I was about to do earlier. If I didn't get in a better mood, I was like, I don't want to get on camera right now if I'm feeling like this, but I'm going to do it if everything goes according to plan, because it's important once in a while to do that. And I don't want to hide. I just want to be raw, who I am. I'm a very positive guy, in my opinion. And yeah, I'm not always perfect, though. That's the thing. Super not perfect at being positive, and I don't want to pretend to be that. Not interested in it whatsoever. Here's a cool one. So if you know the code, and it's like basically a review, so if you know the coding principles they're referring to, it's so cool because you don't actually need to like watch what's going on. You can listen to and have like the screen in the background if you choose, but you can listen to what they're saying and visualize in your mind what's going on with the code. And it's super cool because that's what I was doing yesterday while I was batching the green drinks. Was I was listening to this tutorial on something called Passport, which handles the sign-on sessions for stuff like internalize and what you'll be using with like Infinity and lists if you choose to sign up with those. And it was cool because he was talking about all this stuff. And granted, there was some theory involved yesterday. Not theory so much as him explaining what's actually going on. He's a very visual explainer, which helps dramatically. But it was just cool because even when he started entering the code, I was like following along in my head because I understood what the hell is going on. So if that's the case, I think listening to tutorials are incredibly underrated. And the voice audio space is super not for programming for the most part. And I think that's pretty unfortunate because there's definitely, in my opinion, some cases where it could be incredibly valuable. And I wish I knew more about the entire thing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and teach after just over 1 year of me coding. But if I had like 5 years experience or something, then I would definitely enter the audio space with programming because I think it's such an undertapped area right now. Yeah. What did I grow most this week? React and Redux, Node, JavaScript basics, and some other stuff. Yeah. All right, I'm going to end it there. I think this might be the fastest episode ever. It was much more mellow. I tried to go slower to go faster, if that makes sense. It's, where did I hear that principle? But anyways, I hope this brought some value to you. And yeah, let me just see if I missed anything. I feel like I possibly, miss something? If I didn't say this, I enjoyed design a lot this week. It's cool to like actually just take part in graphic design. Like, I created 2 logos. I worked on creating some thumbnails for YouTube and stuff like that. I also answered Peter Thiel's 7 questions for Infinity, so that was interesting. That really helped me wrap my head around things a lot more. And I really worked on, like, recently the goal has been a lot of trying to move faster on things, because I kind of have had this default in the past of going slower on things, and it's kind of like a perfectionist trait, but I'm working on reducing that and just like reducing to go faster. And I think it's incredibly important, because I just said it again, fuck. It is actually very paramount. So, all right. And I'm excited that I'm going to bed early again. This is like night 4 of going to bed early, and it feels good. Looking forward to getting some. I've really just got to get my shit together with podcasts. At least I'm creating, but fuck, I need to release and distribute. And even on my Instagram, I'm very lazy with it, and I'm not proud of it. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see you next week for the 6th installment of Reflections. Ciao.